Hey, Chrissy from Pinovate. This tutorial today is for our braided macrame wreath. It is so adorable. It has a lot of very simple, elegant style to it. It would look great on your door or even just in your home for the holidays. So follow along to see how to make this. So in your kit, you're going to receive a brass ring, several different lengths of macrame cord, a tapestry needle, and some greenery to embellish it. The only other things that you're going to need would be a hot glue gun and perhaps some masking tape to hold the brass ring down. So for the first step on our wreath, we want to create a square knot that goes all the way around our hoop. So to do that, you're going to find your cord. So you're gonna have one piece of cord that's extremely long. It's gonna be roughly 35, 36 feet. And you wanna find the very, very center of that. So to do that, you're going to match up the ends until you find the very middle. And in that middle, you want to loop it around your ring like it's hanging like a pendulum, okay? So you're gonna have one piece on each side. So from there, we're going to create a square knot the entire way around. If you've never done macrame before, you should go back to our beginner tutorial just to watch how to do that knot, because this will make a lot more sense if you know which knot we're doing. So to create our square knot, normally we have 4 strings. The 2 center strings will be what we wrap around, and then we have 2 working strings on the outside. So in this case, we actually have 2 working cords, but instead of the 2 on the middle, we're actually wrapping directly around our hoop. So I found my center, I have my hoop, and at this point, I'm actually going to take some masking tape and tape my hoop down so it doesn't slide everywhere. This will make it easier. Okay, so we're gonna start with our square knot. To do that, a square knot has 2 sides to it. So it has a left side and a right side to create an entire knot. So to do that, we're going to take our left string, our left cord here, and I'm going to make the number 4. So it's gonna come down and over. And it's gonna be over our brass hoop here, okay? Now with this side, this cord is going to go over our tail and up and under the ring, as well as our other side of the cord. So it's gonna go over and then up and under right here. All right, so there's our first part. Okay, so we have the first part of our square knot done. We did our left side. So now we have to do our right side to make it equal. So for this, we're going to make a P. We're going to loop our right cord over the brass, okay? And then our left cord is going to come over our tail. Make sure that it comes over, that's very important, and it's going to come up through this hole over here. I like to work with the long cord in kind of rounded chunks, so it's a little bit easier to get through. So now when you pull this, that is one full square knot. So you need to do your left side and your right side to create one full square knot, and you're going to do this the entire way around. Okay, so once you finish your square knot all the way around your brass ring, you're just going to leave these last 2 pieces of cord, because we will use them later at the end when we're embellishing with our greenery. So leave those there. A couple tips and tricks while you're doing your square knot. Feel free to turn your ring as you go, so it's in the most comfortable position for you. Always remember to do one side on the left and one loop on the right to make sure that it does lay flat. If you continually do right after right after right, it will start to twist on you. So please try to make sure that it is flat. And the best part about this is that it doesn't have to be perfect. We are putting a braid on top of this. So as long as it is covered all the way back to the start, we're good to go. So now you are going to find 9 cords, all the same length. Okay, so we need to break these into groups of 3. And we are going to braid them. There we go. So what we need to do is match our ends up all together. There's one. So they're all the same length. And here, you can actually connect them either using a piece of masking tape, or even if you had a hairband, you could wrap it around right there. So we're going to leave a good chunk beforehand. So let's say maybe about 8 inches of tail. I'm gonna use some masking tape here. Wrap it around. And then from this point, we need to braid. So breaking them up into sections of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And when we're braiding, we go right over the inside and then left over the inside, and we just continue to do this. However, you want to make sure that you see all of your cords. So you're not pulling really, really tight. You want it to be able to be loose so we can bend it around our hoop. And you want to make sure that it's flat so you see every single cord in there. And you're going to continue until you have the same amount of tail on the other side. So I have finished my braid. So I do have about 8 inches of cord left on one end. I've taped the end, and then I have braided it very carefully, nice and flat, making sure that you can see each and every one of the cords all the way down. It's not too tight. It's quite flexible and bendy because it does have to bend around the hoop that we are attaching it to. I've just attached the last part of the braid with masking tape as well. Again, you can use a hair elastic if you have one. I have roughly about the same tail on this side as well. So on to the next step. Okay, so we have our hoop done and we have our braid done. Now it's time for the assembly where we have to attach the two together. So for this part, you're going to need your last piece of cord, your lone last piece, as well as the tapestry needle. And we're going to be sewing this right onto the hoop. So to place your braid, I like to have my cords at the bottom, so I have a reference. So I'm going to put my braid with, again, the tassels where our other tassels are going down at the bottom here. And I'm going to place my braid all the way around. And we should have enough in which the braids match up at the end and all of our tassels are coming out of the bottom right here. Okay. So now, with our tapestry needle and our last piece of cord, we're just going to sew. So if you put your cord through your needle, it's just going to be like a great big piece of thread. There we go. And we're off. Okay, so to sew our braid on top of our square box stitch on our ring, we have our needle, we have our cord all ready to go. The best way to do this is when you're going through on the hoop, you're gonna go through the edge loops here. So I'm gonna go through the first one here. And I'm going to leave a nice long tail that matches the length of my other cord. So about 8 to 10 inches long. There we go. Okay, now when I'm going through the braid, so I'm coming up through the bottom, so I'm gonna come up through my braid here as well. Now when we're doing this, we want to follow the pattern of the braid depending on which way it is folding. So I'm gonna go down, I'm following this curve here, so I'm gonna go down on this side and through a loop on the back. Now I'm gonna skip a couple. You don't have to do every one, we just wanna attach this onto here. Okay, so I'm through a side loop on the ring, and I'm up through part of the braid here. And I'm going to follow this curve right here. I'm going to go down on this side and into the side loop of the ring over here. And you're going to do that the whole way around. So when you're following the braid with your stitches, it's going to blend right in to it. So you're not even gonna see any of the stitching along there. Okay, so I have attached my braid to the base of my hoop here. Everything is on there, and I'm ready to tie off the end. So I have my braid. I'm going to undo my masking tape, or if you have elastics, you can take those off. Okay, now we just need to collect our cords into 2 different groups. So you should have a very, very long tail from where we were knotting on the hoop earlier. You should have 2 pieces to that, and then you should have all the rest of the pieces in a tail from the braid and from the sewing, okay? So you're going to have 1 long cord on either side and all of the tails in the middle. So what we're going to do here is the same knot that we were doing before, so a square knot, but instead of around the hoop, we're doing it around all of these tails together, okay? So if you remember, we're going to go left over, so we're going to make the number 4, as you can see here. The right side is going to come on top, and then up and underneath all of those tails. It's going to look exactly the same as before. And pull nice and tight. There we go. And then the other side. So you're going to make the letter P. The left side goes on top. And you're going to go up and through. There we go. So we have 1 square knot. I'm going to do 2 just to make sure that it is on there nice and tight. All right, so the end of our wreath is all ready to go. You can trim your tail accordingly wherever you would like. I like to have a long tail, so I would probably trim mine about here. So they're all roughly the same length. And then we're gonna move on to embellishing. Okay, so we are ready to embellish. So at the bottom of your hoop, where the tail is, we're going to add some awesome little sprigs of greenery. So for this part, you're going to need a hot glue gun. And with your sprigs, if you prefer, you can cut them into smaller pieces and just kind of place them where you like. So just using a hot glue gun, we're going to just glue our pieces of greenery right onto our ring. And there is our final product of our braided macrame wreath. It's going to look so lovely in your home. A couple tips and tricks. If you are struggling to sew the braid onto your hoop, another option would just be to hot glue it as well. It lays nice and flat when you do that as well. And again, remember to keep your tails roughly the same length so it all looks uniform. Thank you so much for following along our braided macrame wreath tutorial. There is our final product. I hope you had fun making it. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest. And if you make this amazing project, please tag us. We'd love to see it. Tag us at Pinovate on Instagram. Thanks so much for following. Bye.